Okay, we'll call the meeting to
Yeah,
order.
you can share my
Second that.
agenda.
I have it on my phone here. So the first order of business would be the minutes from November.
I approved the minutes, last meeting.
Second. All in favor?
I,
Dan?
I think Story did a great job.
I think so too.
Did I do
yeah.
them?
Yes, you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, when I read it, you had to say.
I don't wanna do that good a job.
You did, yeah.
I thanked her when she came in.
Yeah, you
it
did,
was very good.
right.
we can continue with our
Donna
ordinance
can't get
review,
in.
but do the gentlemen from Seal Harbor have something they want to bring to the committee?
Well, if I could speak then, Chris has already clarified a lot for me. Was wondering about, I had the impression that we were gonna move the floats and everything this year. And I didn't realize we had to come back, so where are we with that? Is it?
We were supposed to, the summer got away from me. We got just overrun.
Yeah,
And I have talked with Cody Seavey, he's the one that, or, sorry, it's not Seavey, it's,
yeah, coach.
is it Seavey? Am I right there? Yes,
John
he-
Seavey.
that bought,
Yeah,
Charles Bradley.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
the one that hooks and unhooks from him. I've had the conversation with him about when we hook up in the spring, we want to, do the swap around and put the new floats off to the end, or the two that are blocking the entrance to the
Yeah.
hoist. We want to take those 220 by 20s
Yeah,
and shift them over. So
And
I
the
plan
walkway,
on,
the ramp, the walkway in between.
yeah,
no, our first step is to do the swap with the floats.
but that was gonna be this year, and the
Yes.
following year would be the
Yeah.
ramp, so next year we ought to be able to get the ramp
Oh.
and the ship, right?
Story.
We're gonna get the shift and,
You can't get in.
and see how it fares with the shift. You're gonna get, and then if it all works out, we'll go ahead, cause it's probably gonna be, I would guess, 8 to 10 grand to, have a little walkway float built that's gonna stretch between the two floats.
Okay, there you are.
We had the ramp though, John.
Thank
said you had a
Can you
ramp
hear
left
okay?
over to use between the two.
Yeah.
I don't have a ramp.
Last year, we said we thought we had a ramp to connect between the two.
We don't, we'd have to, these ones that we're replacing down here wouldn't work
Okay.
for that,
Donna can't get in, so she's on my phone right
Sure.
now. But she,
Jim will record her.
but she can't get in. It says the host has another meeting.
I don't know.
Who's the one participant? Is that us?
Yep.
Is there a way to let other people in?
So is there anyone else out there, say Bill Johnston or?
Well, we wouldn't know unless they,
They might be having the same exact problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
Let's see, let me see if I can invite.
Maybe the link is broken. Can you send a new invite from your system?
When you logged on, remember that had that other
Yeah, and I ended it for them. There's nothing in the contacts, the only thing I could do would be to end this meeting and then go back in and reboot it. I don't know if that would do anything.
That might do it.
We could try that.
So we're gonna blink out here completely for a minute. We'll be back in.
Okay. Is anybody else missing having problems besides me?
well, no one that we've heard.
But no one
Maybe
else,
is anybody else missing?
well, no one else is here. We
Oh, no,
can't,
so maybe they're all having problems. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, I'll hang up and we'll try again.
Bill Johnston.
Well, don't hang up. We have to
Oh, okay.
wait.
I'll hold on. Yeah, I'll hold on until we figure it out.
Oh, I had her go back.
oh, I think you're on mute right now, Tracy.
I got it. Thank you. Tracy Garrett, summer resident, 3 Southwood Lane.
Well, there's Donna.
Yep, we were,
Okay,
everyone couldn't get into our meeting. We had to close it out, then come back in again. And
you okay, Donna?
I think what the problem was when I went in to start the meeting, you were already there. And so it sent me into a different spot. But
Thanks for working it out. I don't have anything to add to the agenda, just chiming in. We're actually in town right now, but decided to stay in, so thanks
Okay.
very much, everybody.
All right. So
Okay.
if you want to resume, Jim,
Okay. Back-
sorry about that.
So Donna's the only one we have.
Technology.
Right?
Donna's in.
Yeah.
She's in now.
So are you still?
I'm-
having more? You,
I don't know.
So my plan is when they are put in place in the spring, is that between me, Adam and Jenya and Cody and his crew, we plan on swapping the floats, taking the two off that one end and putting them on the other.
Yeah.
We've got to move mooring stones and everything around to accomplish this. Once we get them in place, you guys will have the summer with the new configuration. If it works out and then everything is good, my plan is to order the 20-foot bridge, whatever you want to call it, connector. That will just be a flat, like the one that was there before.
It would be perfect to have like a 24 foot, so you could have 2 feet on each side, because the
So
problem is the people tie up, right?
So-
Tough to get.
part of the getting the switch around is it'll give us a lot better idea, and it would be fairly easy to measure how much we can do. We might only be able to do 18 feet.
Yeah,
You know, or if we can pull off a few extra feet, it's all depending on how close it's gonna be to the
Right.
existing moorings that are there. Cause there's no place to move the moorings.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Well, the way it was before, you had said that it actually worked pretty good, because it came down to it or something, it rose pretty good.
Yeah, there was a pin on one end that went down through and it glided back and forth on the other side inside some beams. And it
And
never,
they were on top of the slope, right? Am I right?
they were, yes.
Yeah.
You know, unless a chain broke, it was never gonna come off.
Right,
And
right.
it never did it, Sam? We never had an issue with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's a little confusion, I understand it, our 5/9 meeting. We said in that, from there, if there will be room, they'll be readjusted in the next 2 weeks. So, and like he said, he got caught up, but that's where the misunderstanding happened. And I encourage all of you, if something doesn't happen, you think it's gonna happen, please email or get in contact with John and CC the chair.
All right, all right.
no, it was my intention,
Well, I thought you
sometime
said
after
you would get back, yeah.
it was my intention sometime after July 1st to do that swap. But between what summer did to us and what it did to the contractor that was
Yeah.
gonna help us, there was a delay, and the next thing I know, it was time to winterize them and pull them out again, and
Yeah.
it just got away from me, and maybe if somebody had said, hey, what happened, how come this didn't happen, I might have, prompted me to go back to it, but it just,
Well, and just so you guys know, all the commercial guys over there, just if you need something, sing out,
Yeah.
And Howie's over there off and on, and if you think of something, Howie, just holler, if you catch a haul, hopefully I'm gonna be off those tugs by the last trip is in May. I'd rather be sucked out of an airplane window than go to New York again, but that'll be it for me, so I'll be here all now.
Hey, Rodney, what's the theory behind splitting out, like getting more distance between them? 'Cause you said it's a benefit, but
How
why?
many times have you come in, Howie, and there's, especially a big sailboat right there in the.
Oh, yeah,
And
Yeah.
it forces them to go one end or the other.
I see.
If you have a couple of 40-foot boats, you're hanging out at both ends.
Yeah.
And that's what it used to be.
yeah,
So that's how it always used to be.
right,
And
okay.
I don't know how it ended up getting stuck together,
I don't know how
but.
that really become, but
Right,
You gotta go on both ends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't hold yours.
yeah, that makes sense. I was just curious why you wanted the distance, but
Well,
that's
that
all
that
makes
was it. I
sense.
appreciate you listening to us there. I just wanted to clarify it but. Chris,
Well,
we need to do it.
Well, we're on the subject. Maybe it's time to really think about the ramps and come up with another hanging system. Because they don't do good. This system does not work. The roller's not big enough to start with on the end. If you put that up higher, it's gonna be, you're gonna have to put another ramp there to get them down on the floor. Because it'd be too big of a step. I
if
think
you
it's
guys
kinda
got any,
needs to- Some other way of hanging that upper end and the lower end and making it more permanent on the lower end, so it don't walk 4 or 5 feet in every direction.
so the one thing about. Cause we have a similar problem over to Bartlett's where when you get heavy wind from one direction that the ramp will walk off the pad. Problem is, and people are like, well, why don't you just put, a big piece of 90-degree angle iron there and it will keep it from going up. Well, the problem is the float's gonna go no matter what. And it will take the ramp and it'll destroy the ramp if you make it anything too solid. Which I've learned from mistakes down here at the marina. You make something too rigid, it's gonna break. You gotta have some flex. And I don't know if you guys happen to come across an idea that you have that might help, that we could get somebody to build and put in place, I'm open to it. Every ramp we have, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen, cause normally when I go to another facility, I always look and everyone pretty much has the same setup as we do, no matter where you go. I've never seen another option. And if anyone comes up with something, take a picture of it, or, if you see something, be happy to try to.
Talk to, Stevie Pinkham, because they had an awful problem getting, before they finally got young David's place, they couldn't keep, they finally did something there, but they had a whole bunch of different.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go over and look if Stevie wanted to meet me and take me down and show me what they got, and I'd take some pictures of it. Yeah, anything.
A lot of that, like I say, Greeks, moving parts need some kind of rule, that's whether you like it or not, whether anybody likes it. We can get to have some moving parts, agree, so. Well, very good, thank you guys, I appreciate that.
So on the minutes, I'm still referring you guys to the Seal Harbor, working group. No, just so for reference, unless you want to individually name, but. No, we appreciate you guys doing this. so.
Well, thank you for clearing it, because I would say, well, what the heck happened, but thank you, John. and all you guys.
Check out those ramps in New York.
What's that?
Check out the ramps in New York.
Yeah.
Serious, if you walk down over some ramps somewheres and you say, hey, whoa, take a picture of your phone.
Yeah,
I mean, every one of us is carrying a phone in our pocket, so,
yeah, okay, I'll do that.
well, you're unique, Sam.
Thanks for your input.
You got a cell phone, cause I have the number.
I know, but I can't answer it, because I can't get your.
Yeah, you should see it by the answer yesterday.
Thank you, John. I'll talk to you later.
Good night. Okay, next on the list, new business, continued ordinance review.
So let me read you what we've got from the 10 minutes of the list of stuff that you guys come up with. So number one is the committee discussed mooring transfers and possible ordinance changes to be reviewed by the town's attorney. We wanted to correct wait list to applicant ordinance status by adding numerical point value. I guess I need a little more clarification on what exactly that means and what what exactly we want to set up there.
Well, it's just so people don't, to verify where they stand on the wait list. And we said, so it went from, right, if you've got it, if you can get it on the ordinance, like 1 through 7, right? You're first this, you're first that. Then you add a numerical order to it. So when someone checks off what they are and has to prove to you that they are a resident or a commercial operator, where they fall into that, then they would check and then they get a numerical number. So the total on that.
A score.
Okay,
Correct.
so now that you're saying that, it's starting to come back, but we're talking from 2 months ago. So
I sat
basically,
down with you and showed you,
basically a checklist.
and I gave you the list, so if I have it here, so if we
It's
go
the
down.
checklist to tell me where to put them in priority on the
Right,
list.
and they have
All
to
right,
prove it,
so-
so let me get it out of the ordinance, so as that list comes down through.
So you get a priority number?
Okay, existing mooring owners, right, so, but you reverse the order of it. So the top, the number one gets, if there's seven criterias, right? Your top is existing mooring owner renewing, the mooring should be located according to the priority list. Existing mooring owner renewing the permit, provide owners, got the boat, that. So that will get, if there's 10 in here, right, or whatever it is on your list, the top number gets a 10. they are this, they're an existing, right? So then you go down through, are they a shorefront property owner? Check. And they have to show proof of that for you. So on the waiting list, it's taking, you don't have to research it. If you're on the waiting list, here you go, you have to show this and prove it to me. And then the people, then their score, so you know, that's a 30 or a 20.
I know
they-
exactly where you're going now. I needed some, a little more than what this said to get me
Yeah,
to,
I showed them,
understanding.
I
A refresher.
yeah, I know, but it's been 2 months
Yeah,
and,
sure.
you know, just needed a little refresher.
And so one of the things we asked was prioritizing commercial fishermen versus commercial operators as one of the, if we could keep them all like on a level.
That's the next one on the
a
list.
level
It's-
playing field, if they could count equally in our ordinance.
Yes, the next thing on the list is making commercial fishermen and operators the same priority.
And so people just pay for the wait list, but we need to know, and we prioritize our residents, and I think that's what we should do, and we have done. I think a lot of people are supportive of that.
I don't think you can.
What? No, with our redefinition of residents that we did.
Okay.
Which means
It wasn't, this is Donna speaking. It wasn't actually a redefinition of residency. It was the required residency that we weren't following, that we were reminded that we should be following. So it wasn't a change. It was just enforcement of.
correct, but it changed to our ordinance.
Right, but the state, I thought, doesn't allow us, it's,
No, that's like if you were a national park, then you, like, we don't, as residents, locals, we don't get freebies to go into Acadia, for example. And that's because it's a national park, so everybody's equal. Here,
Right.
residency, if you're a residency, you can have priority. Because we can be stricter than the state law, we just can't be less strict than the state law.
That's correct.
I thought the state required, what was it, that for commercial?
So with any of the stuff that's in the state's subsections, we can be more stringent, but we can't be more lenient.
But if you're giving a resident priority.
You are allowed to give residents priority.
Okay, I was under the misunderstanding that,
Most, on a lot of things for stuff like this, it's a 10-to-1. So for every 10 residents that gets a mooring, then I gotta turn around and the next one I have to give to a non-resident.
okay.
And we are way above the threshold. There is so many of our moorings that are already non-residents.
Yeah,
You really probably don't wanna know how long we really could go without giving out another non-resident mooring.
yeah.
And
With my misunderstanding of exactly what the state said.
yes. But we could set it up 5-to-1.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's gonna be, that one's not an issue. The issues are the ones down here where you guys have asked about being able to transfer moorings that are outside what the state says that we can do. Because right now, the state says the only way to do it is a commercial fisherman to a commercial fisherman, and it has to be immediate family.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's no way around that, really.
That's a legal opinion we're gonna get from Patrick Lyons.
But he hasn't, I mean, there's enough interest that we should ask, so. I mean,
Oh, I am asking, but I needed a little more clarification because he had questions that I weren't 100% sure. That's why we're back here doing some clarification.
Yeah.
And then we'll get a good opinion and we'll go with whatever and try to get an article written up to change what we can change for next May. We got this meeting and our next meeting, and the meeting in February is our end all. We've gotta have voted and passed all of our changes, and I gotta get them to the ladies in the office so they can put it together.
Were there other questions?
Yeah, no, so I'm just gonna read down through, because we did a bunch.
Okay.
You know, allowing more floats in the harbor and sharing of floats between mooring owners. That we're gonna have to get people that are willing to give up an actual mooring spot and agree to
Move to that
spend
other field, yeah.
$6,000 to $8,000 with another individual to own something. That one's gonna be a little tougher, but that will require some permitting through the Army Corps. That's really the only permitting for that, and, you know, it'd be fairly easy to obtain, but
I thought we were out of their jurisdiction.
no, we are out of the
Federal dredge.
federal dredge, but they still hold the keys on floats and stuff that float and cast a shadow.
And we pay accordingly, correct?
We don't pay the Corps,
Well, we pay for the
and we pay submerged lands only
large lands,
for what is connected to the
the main
marina.
land.
The submerged lands has no relevance over moorings, even if it's a float. But, so. But that one's easy. We just gotta find some way to broadcast it out that, you know, we're looking to do something like this and we need people to basically volunteer to do it.
So
We can't force,
it will require 2 people with moorings to do
it
it.
would, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a similar size.
Yeah.
Area, and then we gotta, you know. If you got 2 people to give up 200 series moorings for, say, I think that would almost make enough space that you could put in 2 floats.
Yeah.
But
floats
we've
go
also
in.
had the discussion that we don't wanna go down here and create 10 more spaces, because that causes the problem of another thing we're trying to solve, which is parking.
Right.
You know,
And dinghy
because if
dock.
you build it, they're coming and there's no question they'll be there. So,
Yeah.
you know, if we really wanna move towards that, you know, the only reason to do this particular thing would be is if you wanna create more space. If you don't wanna create more space, there's no sense in trying to woo people into going from a single point mooring to a float. Because it's gonna cost them more money.
Yeah, Rick seemed to be really hot on the idea, you know,
Yep.
when he brought it up, so I don't know.
But it was, you know, it was 35 degrees in here and everybody wanted out of here, so you really, I guess not for this meeting, but.
Yeah,
We were gonna discuss this stuff last meeting, but
Right.
it didn't happen.
But I mean, if it's, we knew the limitations, and I think Rick knew that. But if it's possible and someone wanted to do it and the swing radius, like if he wanted to do it with someone else and they wanted to pay for it, and it alleviated or created a better situation. And we can, that's an improvement that we make to our ordinance that does something down there, I think we should investigate it.
I don't think this is anything that we need to do that is ordinance. This is just something that we either wanna do or not.
But we'd
And the
have to
only-
approve it, the ordinance for you to connect 2 moorings and put a boat between them, correct?
No,
No?
no, like, I mean, I can create moorings. If there's a space available and I say, oh, there's a space for a mooring there, I can create a mooring space. That's the only thing, if it's a float, I gotta have it, it's gotta be Army Corps permitted, which is just.
So we're not creating moorings, because we're a full harbor and can't. create moorings.
Exactly.
But you can combine the 2 is what I'm saying, but I'm saying if we do something or vote on something, that still should be in the ordinance where it allows them a float in the harbor, correct?
Well,
but
we
there-
already have
there's
that.
already
Floats are already allowed.
Yeah.
So,
Just prove it.
You know, if we find room for another float, we have the ability to add another mooring or a float if I deem it's safe and plausible. So-
the only thing I can think of is, the application. You know, like the mooring list, like is the float considered part of the mooring list? That's
So right now, our floats that are down there, I have one that has just become available because the owner passed away.
Yeah.
So it's half of a float, somebody owns the other half. It can accommodate a 300 series or a 400 series boat. I keep track. The last one that became available ended up going to somebody that had a 300 series wait list. So I've offered to the next person on the 400 list. I don't hold these people to the stone if they pass on it, because they only want a single point mooring.
Yeah,
What I do is if they pass, I'll go to the next person on the 300
Right.
list, and I'll bounce.
I
I've had to bounce back and forth 5 or 6 times sometimes before I find someone that's willing to take a float.
sure. That's a bigger commitment.
It is,
Yeah.
it's, you know, they, instead of a $1,500 or $2,000 mooring, stone and chain and ball.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's $3,000 or $4,000 for the float and the stone that holds it there.
Yeah.
And
Do we
an
know the swing
ongoing
radius?
commitment to do
Maintain
maintenance
that, yeah.
on it, so.
Do we know the swing radius will permit it? If two are connected and don't move, will the swing radius permit it?
I think you could put a float inside of the swing radius of one 200 series mooring.
Depending on the width of the
If you
vessel?
get rid of one 200 series mooring, you could almost fit a 40-foot float in it, and because they don't move a lot,
Right, but but the width of the vessel would dictate that, correct?
it would, yes.
And the length put on, like our floats, the town rental floats,
And
and
the
put way
floats,
bigger boats
You
on.
know, if you had two 200 series boats, you don't need a 40-foot float. You could
Correct.
do a 20 or 25-foot float and easily put
Correct, but I'm
one.
saying that would still be limited to the size of the vessel, where our town, say our small 20-foot floats, right? They get a 40-foot boat tied to either side of them. So it'd still be, you know what I'm saying, though, just because you got a float doesn't mean
No, I
there'd be an
get,
increase in the vessel size.
no, you wouldn't.
I think we also have to be careful of putting a 40, starting to mix the field out there too.
No, you gotta keep everything in the areas they are, but
Yeah.
So that would,
the biggest thing in my, is if we don't wanna add more spaces down there, cause we can't accommodate them parking wise.
Yeah.
Do we even wanna do this?
so you're increasing the amount of usage. Correct?
That was the initial thought, that was why this was even
I
brought up,
worry
is
about
to
the-
bring more spaces in.
So if we're worried about parking, we should be worried about dinghy space too, right?
Oh, exactly, I mean, the dinghy
Right.
space is overwhelmed,
Yeah.
parking's overwhelmed,
And 2 boats can bring in 4 cars
sure, or 6,
or 6. Yeah, I think that's
More than
a
that.
problem,
you know.
Yeah.
because we're already,
If I understand correctly, then if you can still, you, John, can do it on a case by case basis without any changes. So it's kind of a moot point anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, but if the committee doesn't want to move forward
Oh,
with it, but it's gonna cause more dinghy space problems, more parking problems, then
Mhm.
I don't think it's anything that we should offer up as a solution for anybody.
Oh, I
agree
see.
with you.
Yeah, I'm in agreement that, right now, we don't have the capacity to add more space, right? More boats.
The only way you could do it
We
is.
don't have the capacity to add more dinghy or parking.
Right, right.
right,
the only way-
If we could talk people into swapping moorings for going in on a float, you could create space to do that.
Right. So it's the ancillary sort of.
well, what if you had a guy who had 2 moorings? So he would have, the cars don't change.
Mhm.
He would put his 2 boats on 1 float.
But then it opens up space for.
That you can't use anyway.
No,
So
but
there's
that
no-
would be the purpose, would be to
The only purpose to doing the floats would be to make more space to put more moorings in.
Right.
Yeah.
To put more
If we're
moorings.
not doing that, there's no need in
Well,
creating
except that
floats.
I think it's nice having those floats, and so a person might prefer that. But only if they have 2 boats, you let them do it.
But you're
Still
still
have-
creating another space.
You're still giving up 2 moorings to create that.
Right,
And it's gotta be, that's why I keep saying 200 series moorings, because you don't want to just have a float sitting out in the middle of the mooring field all by itself. It would mess things up.
Well, I
They
think,
have to, we
yeah.
have to kind of continue in the line where we're at to keep working.
Well, I think we've got the answer because being one that uses the public dinghy float, and I've complained about it enough, there's no more room.
right.
There is no room down there for any more moorings.
I think Rick brought a really good solution to the wait list problem, right?
Yes,
Like,
and that
you know,
was his,
And,
Yeah.
and
thought.
so, getting the floats in there would alleviate some space or, open up some space to get more moorings in, and then people would have more get off the waiting list. But the other end of that, the flip side of that coin is exactly what John's bringing up now, which is we don't have the capacity and to house their dinghy or their car once they get on their boat.
We don't even really have the capacity for any more commercial moorings with how chock full that float is.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a full situation with it.
So, yeah, so I think right now, until we can resolve those other things, there's no need to push for more space. I agree with you.
All right, the other one was a simple one. It was just a review of the definition of anchorage and the removal of a couple of wording problems. That one's, we've already discussed that, and that one's clear. Applications for more than one mooring, question mark. Right now, the only place that we allow for more than one mooring for one single boat is if the mooring is in Somes Harbor and it's considered a storm mooring. We do have multiple people that have more than one mooring, but they have to provide a separate boat for each mooring, so I guess I need a little clarification on why this was on our minutes and what it meant.
I have a question, John. We're talking about new mooring applications, not existing ones, because some people have one boat, for example, and 5 moorings. These are already existing moorings, but you're talking about new applications, or is the person who wrote that question talking about new application?
All it says is application for more than one mooring, question mark.
Okay, so application meaning
That comes from Howard, clarification of definitions.
Was that something in the definition?
Oh, let me take a look at what I got here.
Attention, anchorage, remove of the harbor, then an application for more than one mooring. That was in clarifications.
Oh, yeah, but I said that would be, the mooring thing would be fine because we resolve it by saying, taking out the harbor,
Yeah.
the area of the harbor,
and I've
because
got that here.
the mooring refers to the word anchorage.
No, we're just reading
Okay,
down through.
cool.
That's
So I
corrected.
think, yeah, you can, I
Okay.
think that was just like a note that was made, like I was lining everything up and then I tied it together, so.
Okay, so the next thing on the line is transferring a mooring to a family member or adding a name to a mooring.
Wasn't a description of mooring plan before that?
I thought you couldn't add it more.
Well, definition of a mooring plan, that's
For description definition.
That's up in the definitions. Those ones are pretty clear and easy to,
Okay, so we're all set with that.
yes, no, I don't have any questions on those, but. The transferring a mooring to a family member, adding a name to a mooring, I mean. What are you truly looking to do there? Cause that goes 100% against what the state's. Rule book says right now. It wouldn't even allow, say, Rick to transfer his. Mooring that he uses for a commercial business to a family member. It'd only allow, like you to transfer 30 years from now to one of your children if they were gonna fish.
Yep.
And that's just gonna go back to the way things used to be. And the wait lists are just gonna get longer because stuff is gonna pass from family member to family member.
We're just honoring a request of people from the audience and people that had asked, so.
I guess you could just say that we can't put that in because it's illegal.
Yeah,
just
the
have- I
state
think-
won't allow it,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
more lenient than their rule.
Right,
I think that came up because of what, we had to say no to Roy Hadlock with his family mooring.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
But, I mean, and maybe at the time we just said, well, we'll ask the lawyer and see if we can get that, if it's possible. So if the lawyer can just say, straight up, we don't even need to go any further with that one.
I imagine the person, if they really wanted to challenge it, they could go to the state, because it's the state's law if they wanted to challenge it.
right.
And John's just trying to cut this stuff down, what he knows. He's giving us his knowledge in state law before we present it to the attorney.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's what he's trying to cut down now.
All right, well,
But we did with our diligence, when people asked us, and presented it to.
Yeah.
So if you'd like it still to go to the attorney,
I mean,
then
I don't think anybody liked having to say no to Roy, but, you know, I've been in the family for 30 years, but it, you know, can't do it.
All right, so the next one here says transferring of a mooring from a resident to resident/commercial if the same owner changes its usage to meet commercial requirements.
I think it's a valid question
Yeah.
for an attorney, because if you get a business, or you transfer what you're doing or your operations and classification, and you have the vessel to prove it and documentation, I think that should be inquired about.
On whether we can allow that transfer.
Correct.
So that would be like
And
a
if they're a
commercial
resident-
operator like Rick being able to transfer to one of his children if they were going to
No,
continue his
I
business.
read it the other way. It's if you were, say, I wanted to go back into fishing and I
Right.
wanted to make it a commercial, I would go from a private mooring to a commercial.
Exactly.
That's the
Oh.
way.
That's what the
Okay.
question, or your commercial.
So that's turning a private mooring back into a commercial mooring.
Well, not back into, but if you have a private mooring
Mm-hmm,
and you develop a business, Howie Safaris go ocean bound.
I get you.
He's got a vessel permitted for that, authorized, he's now commercially using that to do a business. Can he transfer that? He has a mooring,
Can you
He's a
turn it
resident.
from a private
To a
to a
commercial.
commercial mooring?
Yeah.
All right, that makes more sense.
sorry to use you, Howie, as an example.
no, that's okay.
You fit the criteria.
That's all right, I've been using you and Rick for examples.
I could see that happening.
I'd like to go on the safari with you.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Sounds
So you
good.
can
I just think
transfer
Oscar
a
Dock-
commercial mooring and it stays with the business? So if it's
Not currently.
Right.
Well, yes, if that is the case, if you own your boatyard down here,
yes,
if the
yeah, like
boatyard
Morris
sells
Place, yes, they have.
to a
those-
new
those
owner
moorings.
that's gonna new and operate, yes, those moorings are crucial to that business continuing. Those have continued to pass. Alva Barge. When Matt sold to Jason, the moorings transferred with the business because they're crucial to the operating of that business.
So it's
Yeah,
really not. It's like,
I don't understand why a waterfront property that has a mooring, that mooring wouldn't stay with the waterfront property. It's just kind of like just a business, it's a waterfront business and it has the moorings. And the business stays with that. I don't understand why the home would not maintain its mooring right out in front of its home.
Makes
The
sense.
state
but
says that, you know, they're allowed to have a space in front of
Says
their property.
they're allowed, but it also says that the mooring can't be sold with the property.
exactly. And if they sold it as a business, an LLC or corporation, but a corporation would make tax sense, it would transfer with it.
So the home is LLC.
If it's
Then
a
it'll
corporation, if they bought that corporation, like,
Well, so here's the question, right? Like, let's play this out for a second. I buy the house, I get the mooring, all is Howie Motanka. Right on my property, you know, on the waterfront. And then I decide I'm gonna put my house in LLC. So I put my house in an LLC, you know, for just whatever tax reasons of some sort. So now can I then say I wanna put my mooring in an
not if you
LLC?
don't have a commercial usage.
Okay. So you had to apply for the
So like
mooring
Hinckley,
as a LLC.
so
What
say
you would
Hinckley
have to-
Corporation owns their moorings, how many times they've been bought out since they've been?
No, I understand that.
No,
I'm just asking, I understand that it comes with a business. What I'm asking is how does it get started? That's what I'm asking.
If it's in one of the harbors, you gotta work through the waiting list
Right,
until that LLC that you've created would become number one on the list.
yeah,
Then you
yeah,
tell me you're
like-
giving up your mooring and the LLC is
I
number one on the list.
yeah,
Everything's covered.
yeah,
If you're out in front of your house, there's no waiting list per
right,
se for a mooring in that area.
yeah, Also, you could give up your mooring and then get it back as the
we
LLC.
could do some sort of
Yeah. I
hand
see.
swapping thing there,
Okay.
yes, and there wouldn't be an issue. The problem is in the harbors is a waiting list,
Right,
and would have to jump on the waiting list, just like anybody else that wanted a mooring and wait until it happened.
And back to why we enacted our changes to the ordinance and being able to allow when things to be registered and adopt enclosed harbors and areas is to protect some of the areas from exploitation.
Cause I see properties like in Southwest Harbor that are in the harbor. And they say they have moorings come with a house. It's on the water,
That's Southwest.
so. Are they doing something that's wrong or? You know,
If they're letting the
if they can
property
do
be
it, you know.
sold with the house, yeah, they are, but that's someone else's problem.
Okay.
But, and I'm sure there has been homes sold in this town that the same thing has happened and just nobody ever knew about it and it just happened. They might have been smart enough to not advertise it and just say, just assume my mooring, because
But the problem's
have-
solved now because we're registering.
we haven't been registering the moorings outside the harbor. We're taking care of that right now. Every day, Jen is doing data entry because we're getting dozens of mooring informations coming in every week, and Jenya's been compiling a new database, and once we get it all together, we're gonna send it off to Online Mooring, and we'll be able to send them a bill, just like any of you that have a mooring that's in one of the harbors.
I understand out of the harbor, it's not a problem at all. But if a home is in the harbor.
In the
The
harbors,
state says they're allowed to have mooring off their house.
so that's the thing. Yes, they're allowed to have a mooring that is as close as reasonably possible to their home.
So that's why the waiting list, so they go number one on our waiting list. It doesn't mean they get to plan a mooring or supersede someone that has a mooring there.
They
That's where
get
you
the
go back to
next
the waiting list.
space that becomes available within the harbor that is appropriate size for the boat they tell me they have. It might be right in front of their house, it might be all the way around the other side of the harbor. It's just roll the dice.
And it's a closed harbor, so that takes away a lot of.
There is no just plunk one in front of your house, cause you have that right. It's as close as reasonably possible. And if it's outside the harbor and it's not that big of a deal around here, but in other towns down in southern Maine, your mooring might be a half a mile up the shore. That's as close as the next space available is. So,
So it's not really in front of the house. I was gonna
It's
bring
not.
that question up.
and you can get that mooring and say, well, put me on the list the next time something closer comes up and I'll do a swap. And you could eventually maybe end up in front of your house, but, and we'll do that down here too. I have people all the time who's like, geez, I'm 70 years old and it's getting hard to row all the way across the harbor. If something opens up closer and the person's willing to do a swap, I've done that before and, we'll accommodate as much as we can, but
And they are transferable through a spouse.
right now, I have been doing, if you have a mooring and you passed away and your wife still has the boat and wants to continue using the boat, yes, we have allowed that. But I guess
We don't
that's
know if
even,
that's legal or
but
not.
that's even potentially questionable. And that's big one.
Between a marriage is joint property. Even if it's in one person's name, it's still by law joint property.
That sounds like an answer.
Yep, and that property can be picked up and set on your beach. You don't own the spot where it is. The
Correct.
town is permitted, I am permitted the authority to allow you to use that space. That spot still belongs to the state of Maine, not to the married couple. That's where the problem comes.
So
You can
it's,
take. a year
it's,
and plant it
it's
on
use of the
lawn.
place.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's use, not a ownership of you own the gear, but you're borrowing the space.
that's correct.
It's a privilege, not a right. So the driver's license.
And that goes with docks. I mean, the state, you have to pay the state to have that dock.
Yep.
And submerged, that's where submerged
covering
lands
that
comes in.
ground. Yeah.
Any place below low water that you cast a shadow.
That brought to mind while you're talking about, if you look at some sound and a lot of those lots going down to some sound are narrow, those summer cottages. And not all of those moorings are directly in front of their house. Some of them are off in front of someone else's house. So that's what I was gonna bring up. I know it's not important, but.
Okay.
The whole point of regulating outside was the harbors was to stop what Hinckley's did when they first got wind of they were gonna start controlling the number of moorings. They just ran out and put all these moorings out there before anybody could stop them.
All of those around Greetings, that was part of it.
And up towards, towards the Orange Restaurant and out that way. They were all dropped within about a year.
They put a lot around Greetings Island.
Yep.
That's the last one I had questions on. If there's any other ordinance type stuff that you guys want me to vet.
Will you forward me your list for the minutes of what we agreed to put through?
Yeah, I'm reading right off the 10-10.
I know, just what we've
Minute.
crossed and
Yes.
just clarification.
I will tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'll send out an email. And
So that's the end of your questions?
that's the end of my questions for the lawyer.
Anyone else with any input on the ordinance review?
Or anything that hasn't been added. Now's the time to,
What's the lawyer that we use for that?
it's Eaton and Peabody, it's Patrick Lyons.
Okay,
It's
not Andy.
all of these members we've spent quite a bit of time when we redid our whole ordinance with him, so you've never met him, but he's the town attorney.
One of them.
Yes,
But it's not a town attorney. Your town attorney isn't Peabody, correct?
Eaton
Yeah.
and Peabody is the representative for the town.
For this, but not our town attorney.
I don't know for sure. I think they use,
The firm is the town attorney.
yes,
Let's put it that way.
yes, Patrick specializes in the type of things that we're doing.
The other thing, we had protection of eelgrass, marine habitat,
I think that's
federal, we agreed
it's a
on that. right?
no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
if there's a known eelgrass bed, then it's,
And then the
Off
deed,
limits.
whether you're allowed to deed your property to give up mooring rights. That was asked by Zoom.
yeah, I mean, that's a pretty straightforward question. I didn't have any questions on that one.
And the other thing was does a dock surpass mooring rights? Like that was a Jim Bright question.
Yeah, that, I don't have any questions. That one's very straightforward. Yes or no, or
Oh, you mean someone's gonna build a dock?
if someone
Right.
wants to wharf
Right.
out, which you
Right.
have a right to do,
Yeah.
whether you can somehow force an existing mooring to move so you can accomplish that.
Yeah.
If it was in a situation where it wasn't a full harbor and there was area to adjust, then it's no question, but in a full harbor situation, if you move one down here, you gotta move them all.
Yeah.
So,
I was thinking more along, like going out towards Bear Island, if one of those houses wanted to put a dock. But they all have them already, so it doesn't make it,
it would be
or one of those houses off the fleet. Where their fleet has run down towards the swimming club.
Mm.
But one of those houses along that stretch could say, I'd like to put a
sure.
dock in there. And that would be where we'd have that question.
I think in that situation, there would be room to adjust.
Yeah.
To
Adjust the
but in the
moorings.
harbor,
Yeah,
it would be a totally different ballgame.
yeah. So how's the pier coming down here?
I think they're ready for stonework.
Well,
They had a little washout yesterday. They've got to come back. And I think everybody did.
yeah.
I was questionable whether I was gonna make it home last night. Bayside Road was shut down in two different places and
Wow.
the end of my road was like water for like 60-80 feet in every direction.
Your basement still good?
Yeah,
Awesome.
it fixed itself, yes.
Good.
That was the second thing I checked when I got home last night.
So we've completed our ordinance review and,
And there's no other things that anyone wants to add that they've thought up since the last time we went over this.
no,
All right,
Bill,
so-
good to see you. Did you try to get on to
I
the?
did,
Yeah,
3 times.
we had problems.
Yeah, somebody had joined the meeting before I created it, so they had somehow created a meeting, and when I clicked to create, it created another one, so we bumped out and bumped back in and it worked. So sorry you had to come look at us in person.
I didn't get a ticket, Brian.
No?
Good job. So under general issues, we have old business. Anything there?
Well, we should just speak about the parking committee real quick, you know, that we met last month, we spoke with,
Chris,
Chris, yeah, thanks, Chris Wharf, about some stuff, and we understand what's going on there, and then we were gonna ask to meet with you, John.
yeah,
So
I
you-
had a meeting with Chris before you met
Yeah.
and after.
Oh, okay,
So I probably have an idea of where you're going, but yes.
yeah, no, we don't even know where we're going, so you might have an idea for sure, yeah. So our next meeting, we're not gonna meet in December, so in January on like the fourth
Yeah, just
Tuesday,
give me a
okay,
few days notice.
sure. And you can make it,
Yes.
awesome, great, thanks very much.
Yeah, cause I can go home and zoom in from home.
Yeah, okay.
This is for parking or?
Yeah, the parking subcommittee, we're just we're trying to figure out what we can do about the tennis court parking at overnight.
I think,
And,
Yeah.
and we're just trying to gather information and then figure it out, so.
as long as everything works in the conversations that I've had with Chris, I think it's already
Underway, yeah,
gonna work.
oh, great,
As long as it happens.
I understand what you're saying, yep, yep, got it,
And I think a lot of it for us on the committee is understanding the system. You know, trying to-
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
complicated little tool to use.
I think we're talking the global.
Yes, I know, but
Yeah,
the tool itself is fairly
yeah,
complicated.
yeah, Chris made it sound a little simpler, but I
Yeah,
can
well,
understand.
If you write
Yeah.
a lot of them every day, anything you get used to.
Sure,
repetitive, but
yeah.
For
But
me
he
to go down
definitely,
and pick it up right now, I would do some serious stumbling to work through it because
Yeah.
I don't write hardly any of them at all myself.
Yeah.
This is to write a ticket?
Just to write a ticket, yes.
yeah, he said that.
Once you do it frequently, I think Jenya can, boom, but
And he said that,
You just write it out, your
No.
handwrite,
no pens, no paper anymore.
Can't,
It's
you
all,
can't do something
it's
like
all-
that anymore.
and that's, so it makes it more
I
complicated.
have one of these that's dedicated just to the printer. And
Yep.
It's a cell phone, but all it's used for is for writing a ticket.
So it got more complicated, but.
Mhm.
And when they write that, so it doesn't print one out to leave it?
It does.
It does,
It prints a Type R waterproof
right out of the hand unit.
right out of the hand unit and put it under their windshield. You can't even, I don't think you could rip one in half. They're tough.
Mm,
And the information all goes to the company that handles the billing.
Yep.
So they're gonna send the owner of the vehicle a envelope in the mail and it's 30 or 35 bucks. If you don't pay it, they just escalate up through and they will follow up with court and the whole works over it.
I'm surprised they.
Where the town never
Yeah.
used to go that far because
Yeah.
the attorney for the county would not prosecute it.
Yeah.
So the police chief himself would have to go and act as the DA for the town to prosecute a $25 ticket.
Yeah.
It's a waste of his time.
Yeah.
And it'd be a waste of money, but now we have something in place that they will go after it.
Do they charge us more when they have to go to court? That's all part of
They
it.
get their percentage.
If a ticket is $30, $5 of that ticket money is theirs.
Yeah.
The other 25 belongs to the town,
Yeah.
so they're looking at numbers.
Yeah.
So,
They wouldn't prosecute until it got up pretty high.
I thought there was a time when unpaid parking tickets would affect your driver's license?
They're probably,
Not that you had to go to court, but they could.
When there's a criminal offense,
Non-moving violation.
when there's a criminal offense, and if this is a town ordinance, it doesn't even,
no,
you know, what I mean, it doesn't escalate to that.
New York, they tow your car. The big city, they don't waste
but in the
it.
big city, the city has a city attorney that would prosecute
Yeah,
and take care of that, where, you know, we're not gonna pay
How's it going?
yeah.
Eaton and Peabody to go chase parking tickets for us.
So what, apparently you've already talked, so I'm just trying here, but who will enforce that around there? Is that gonna be you guys or the
Well,
police
let's,
actually?
let's find out in another couple
I mean,
of
that's-
months rather than saying
It's
something now.
gonna be the PD.
Yeah, we've heard that, that's the trouble.
We talked about that.
We've talked about it,
Stories.
we'll get there.
I did, I
Okay.
said, you know, every year they say
Yeah.
it got past us.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get
said
there.
that to him.
yeah.
Howie's on it, don't worry, so everyone's.
It'll take a couple of years, but we'll get through it,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
They got a lot of other things to do.
But it has to have enough bike to work.
But we've made improvements, I mean, we have made significant improvements down there.
That's true.
We probably wrote 100 tickets last summer that we would have never written before because there was nothing being done.
Yeah.
I implemented something that started catching some, but it was too much to do every day.
Right.
Because Chris's dad would go out at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning and go through the entire parking lot and write down every license plate that was there. He would hand it to Jenya when he came in at 7 o'clock in the morning. And Jenya would sit there for a half hour, 40 minutes, going through, checking to see which one of them physically had a permit. And then it would take him a half hour or so to go out and write 8 or 10 tickets. So it took an hour plus out of Jenya's morning when he's supposed to be getting the marina and everything ready to boats that are leaving, boats that are coming. So it really, it was a stretch to do it more than once or twice a week.
Did the last summer's tickets go to a collection agency?
Yes.
Yes.
If they didn't get paid?
Yeah, it's nothing, we don't see any of that money. The money, when it comes back to the town, it goes into special funds that can only be used for certain things. You know,
State mandated.
can't be used for, you know, putting a new table in, they wouldn't allow
They
that.
can't
But
go to general fund, there was.
if you needed traffic cones to buy, you could spend the money to buy new traffic cones or a new ticket machine or and pay an officer to go out and do that job. It's very limited.
They had an LD last year to make.
Open that up a little more.
To change that, it didn't pass, so I don't believe did it.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
Motion to adjourn,
we're open for adjournment.
so move. Seconded by Brian.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,